Now we need to get the small linkages. You don't want the long ones, because these are for the actual blade grips. Again, I like putting them into the vernier calipers, both linkages, that way I know I've got them the same length. The little A's are both on one side for the blade grips. Now with the blade grips, again, as you know me by now, I love putting heaps T47 on this one, on the ball links themselves. Thing is, if you ever need to remove them, you just put a lot of heat to it and it breaks down and allows you to basically remove it. Okay, so they're got their Loctite on. Now we have to put together the feathering shaft and dampers and so forth into the top of the head. Okay, now this is a very important stage in setting up the top of the head, putting the feathering shaft in all in the right way. They give you two sets of dampers. You've got the grey and the black set. The grey set is basically the 70, the blacks are the 80. Right, now the difference between these two is their compression, how much they'll compress. Okay, so this one's going to give you a lot more movement, that one's going to give you less. Okay, so that's 80, that's 70. Okay, personally I'm going for the black. Okay, this is the washer that goes up against the bearing inside the blade grip. One side is smooth, as you can see there, it's got a smooth finish, that's the side up against the bearing, and the other side is flat, or it's got a flat finish to it, that's the side that'll go up against the thrust bearing. Now, the first section of the thrust bearing has got an in, right? That's in towards the actual bearing itself, or towards the center. So as you look at your thrust, your washer, put that down in that fashion against it, and again with your packed grease bearing, you then put that in the right way, so the packed side goes in, like so. Then you get the other side, which says out, so that faces outwards, and you put that on top like that. So there you have the setup ready to go. So place that down on the ground, so that, or on the table I should say, to be ready to be mounted in. What I'm going to do is apply some grease over the shaft, and going to put the feathering shaft sleeve over the top of the feathering shaft itself. Okay, now I'm going to pass it into the head itself. It's quite a snug fit. sticking out a bit, so I'm just going to push that down with something blunt. So what I actually did was I pulled the feathering shaft out, pushed it, made sure it was flush on both sides, and then put the feathering shaft back in. So your feathering shaft should be fairly free going through there, but snug. Basically fit the dampers on. So what I do with the dampers is I still apply a little bit of grease to them. So just get some onto your finger. So now I've got grease in the end there, I've got to clean that out. And we put the copper washers, or the spacer, on either side. So basically, to clean it out, I put some alcohol in there, used a small brush, and basically turned it upside down and twisted the brush anti-clockwise until I was satisfied that it was cleaned. Did that on both sides, and I've waited for it for the alcohol in there to dry. So that's basically now ready, so I can continue on. So now we can put the blade grips on. I basically just fit them on like this. So I've got them ready, and my thrust bearings are ready. So now all I have to do is get the T43 and apply some onto my bolts on the very edge, and wipe any excess off because you don't want it going into the bearings. Then you need to grab the thrust bearing, pass the bolt through it, and fit it through. Just basically get it into position, don't over tighten it yet. Now, this is where you need both keys. And you tighten this right up. Okay, so once that's in nice and tight, these should be nice and free, as you can see there. Okay, you then need to put in the linkages. Remember, the A side is going away from the linkage. And just basically wipe off any excess grease that you've left behind. And that basically concludes page 7.